I had you join a couple of episodes last year, specifically some where we talked about femininity and resilience, and we talked about the body. But I think there's something that I've always known when I discovered like your work around like posture and the body work that you do. Um, which is very helpful when I struggled with my own body issues, like turning to you for advice was super helpful. But I think a major part of your wisdom comes from your own story and some major hit that has happened to you physically when the body was just computer, not compute.
Mm.
Um, do you mind telling us a little bit more about that and giving the background of?
I think like I had a lot of like little turning points over the years, like we always do, right? But this turning point literally changed the course of how I operate and who I am as a person. And it was back in 2018 when I had a car accident. And when the car accident happened, I thought nothing was happening. Like I was okay. Like the car was a write-off, but like I didn't feel any particular way. I left the scene relatively like I thought I was, unharmed and I was all good. Like I was walking and I was okay. And then slowly I started feeling not being okay. Like I started feeling like I wasn't able to function like how I always functioned. And especially as someone who always identified as someone who was well capable of handling stress, pushing through, and figuring life out. Like I always thought, like I have life under control, and that was like literally who I was. And then suddenly, I didn't. Not only I didn't, I remember I used this phrase so many times when I worked with, like I went to medical support or like to doctors and practitioners. It's like, I don't remember who I was. Like I literally didn't know who I was anymore. And that was like a breaking point because all the things that previously, whether it's through movement or through the power of thinking, organizing, planning, getting shit done, like I had literally like as if I lost that part of my ability. And this part of me, because I associated with it so much, like that was like my entire world. It was a massive reality breakdown. And then I felt like all the shit that I didn't deal with was like coming up. Like literally, it was an overflow. And I remember I went to a therapy session, which every time I think about it, I get so pissed off of like how incapable that person was to help me. And literally what she said, she's like, oh, like sometimes when major thing like this happen, the gate to your subconscious open and you have no barrier towards like what you're allowing in. Even the thing that previously you would prevent from experiencing because you knew it would hurt you, um, like you can't really control that anymore. And that's literally the only thing that she said was that. But then aside from that, I left that therapy session and many after that feeling more and more terrible and disempowered, in feeling like healing was possible because I literally thought I was going crazy. Like this was literally how I felt. And then from the body standpoint, like movement has been a big part of my life. I've been into movement and I've been an athlete my entire life. And a lot of things that I process in life is through the movement. And then
Mm.
I couldn't do any shit after that accident. So all the typical movement that I previously would thrive on was triggering my pain, my neck pain, my shoulder pain, my eye pressure. And yeah, so literally all the things that I used previously to regulate and calm myself down and feel like I have control over life was gone, literally gone. And that was the beginning of me figuring out one step at a time. Like it was one step forward, 10 step backwards. And then slowly, like after quite a few years, I felt like I'm back on my feet, but
Wow.
in a very different way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
it took 3 years until I felt like, oh, maybe I'm finding like the opening.
Yeah. So the Hedy we know today is very, very different from the Hedy that had the accident in the first place, but
Yeah.
also you've evolved quite a lot,
Mhm.
because today, not being just stuck in mindset work is something actually quite new
Mhm.
for you. It's like you were very much up here before,
Mhm.
and for someone who needed movement so much, you weren't that connected to your
Yeah.
body before. How how is that how is that possible? Like, what was happening in your head?
I think I was like my experience of movement now and what I experienced before, I was addicted to that rush of dopamine and that rush of um, pleasure that I would get out of movement. And I was in this headspace of, that's a really good question. Actually, I never thought about it that way, of like, how could you be so still so disconnected, right? And I know so many people, they're addicted to the gym, but they're probably the most disconnected from their bodies ever. And I worked with quite a few people like that, because there's a difference between moving for the sake of moving and sensing as you move. So, if
Mm.
anything I teach is sensation, experiencing the sensation, you can literally do the same, two individual can do the exact same workouts, and one person sense everything differently. For example, like for someone who trained for a very long time, after the accident, every time I did an exercise, I felt disoriented and I didn't even have the language to say what was going on. I just felt like everything was like this. But then I was like, oh, maybe the intensity was too high. But I had zero ability to sense that this wasn't helpful for me.
Mm. Yeah,
And
I get
yeah, I
it.
think like so often we do the movement to push through the body rather than sense and feel through the body. It's a very different experience, or at least
Yeah.
for me.
Even like to punish ourselves in
Yeah.
some ways. I think a lot of people might go to the gym to actually lose the weight in order to eat that dessert, or vice versa, because they indulge too
Mm.
much the night before. They're going to hit the gym super hard, and actually, yeah, you get that rush that makes you feel good and you feel like you're doing something for your mental health, but it's not constantly aligned
Mm.
to what our body truly needs, especially if it's not allowed with our cycles. As women, this makes a
Yeah.
huge difference. I noticed actually, and I do notice when I need to exercise to get my dopamine fix,
Mhm.
when I actually move to feel what my body is capable of. And
Mhm.
I noticed that when, like, for example, quite honestly with myself, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going for a run. This is like just so I don't go insane. And
Mm.
I know that within 5, 10 minutes, I'm gonna get that rush,
Yeah.
that dopamine fix. It's the same as if you jump in an ice bath. Now, having an ice bath is really good for yourself in
Yeah.
specific cycles, depending if you're a man or woman, obviously. But it, it it varies from one person to the
Mm.
other. And the thing is, during a run, if you don't take care of yourself, you can injure yourself. And I've injured myself tons, as you know, because
Mm.
that's how I knocked at your door.
Yeah.
And I know that I fully conscious going on about it with, like, I am doing this, like it's my rush, but I'm being very careful about it because I can trigger that within 5, 10 minutes of running. And I'm just gonna go very slow, very mindfully, and really enjoy where I am, the environment, as well as the rush. As in, for example, what I want to do, something that is more conscious, is going to be maybe like the hike or when I climb to a
Mm.
summit. That was very challenging, but actually my body wasn't suffering, it was my mind.
Yeah. Oh, there are so many things that I'm thinking about, and I wish I had a paper that I could bullet point, because I'm pretty sure I forget to touch on all the things that I felt like relevant to this conversation. Because there is nothing wrong with getting that dopamine hit. It's actually like, from the physiology standpoint, like when we change our physiology, we change how we feel so often. So there is validity in that. So still, even though I've done the work and the work continues, right? It's like forever. But um, even though I know I can feel myself through something, but sometimes I know, like, doing the workout would change my state so much faster, and that's what I need. But I think being addicted to all the biohack techniques or all of that stuff is just a band-aid. So we keep fixing it for a short amount of time. And I really have seen that this would turn into a consistent sense of peace and safety.
Mm.
I think, like, in a healthy nervous system, so we want to be able to find that trust that we can just ease in. And like, you've done the embodiment work that I teach. So
Yeah.
people finally get to that point that they already felt everything. I always say, like, you go down and then you come up. You go down to the body, feel it, and then you get to come up. And then if I give you a direction on what to think, how to set intention, that is coming from a very different place. Because if I got you to do the intention here, so you would do it as a way to band-aid what you were feeling.
Yeah.
But when you're actually feeling what needs to be felt and you're coming back up, then that charge is no longer there. And so you processed it, you held the space for it. And then that's a completely different energy. So I think there is certainly like a place for both. Like, I enjoy working out now that I don't trigger the hell out of myself. And then also, like, injury as well. Like, injury, I feel like it's part of life. It's every time. Like, there was this certificate that I went through, and they had this saying that I really liked. Is like, injury happens when the load is more than capacity.
Mm.
So you can apply this to everything that you do. So then, like, in the context of that particular work that I do, is like, how can we increase the capacity of a joint to carry pressure? But you can also use that for nervous system. You can use that for, like, literally, like, how resilient we become, right? So when the more resilient we become, the more capacity we have for more load, and we are able to identify what is working, what is not working, rather than using it as a way to punish ourselves and torture ourselves.
Mm.
It is.
So it is one of the things that frustrates me with the industry is the quick sell. The
Yeah.
quick sell, which is let's put a band-aid on the symptom as opposed to going to down to the root cause. And
Mm.
some and I'm not trying like to guilt trip anyone. Sometimes we do need a fix because we
Yeah.
don't have capacity to go down the roots. Like I don't want to unravel my entire childhood traumas overnight just from one day to the other because I've had either an accident or I was fired or
That's
like
the worst way you can do it, coming from first-hand experience.
there's a time for everything. But it doesn't mean that when something hard gets you and knocks you down, that there isn't something underlying that needs some attention
Mm.
because that capacity was eaten up from somewhere. And I think the mindset work has helped me a lot because I was missing that correlation. I was
Mm.
used to put a band-aid on my trauma.
Mm.
Being like, that's it, that's the norm. We discard all this. There is nothing, no impact, not really understanding the conditioning. So that work was very helpful. But I have a
Mm.
feeling that one and the other isn't like sufficient. And I think that's what I loved, like joining your session or getting to know each other as part of the communities we're in, is that the body gives you a harsh reminder of
Mm,
what's important.
mm,
And we need the body to process things, but there's also like a mindset work that needs to
yeah.
be done, because if we just patch the body, we recover the body, but then we have all
Mm.
these conditioning that also holds us back in our mind.
Yeah, in my personal experience and what I come back to is like the body is the subconscious, is like literally the darkness that we don't want to go into, right? It's like it's a lot easier to stay here. And even like I feel like when we have a body and then we do the mindset work, we get to have access to the mind with a capital M. And I
Mm,
know I experienced that myself because like when I've done the body work, I knew like I almost felt like I was lost in the sea of like this world, which gave me so much gift and so much depth and so much understanding. But to be able to bring the understanding forth to the world and being able to have direction and a sense of sovereignty, you need to have that mind to direct you, to plan for you, to hold the vision for you. So I
mm,
think like almost the way I think about it, this is like what we go down and like the underworld. So we grab a thing and then we need that thing, that direction through the mind. Like some people say like mind is the servant of the body, and but in this day and age is the exact opposite, right? It's like we need to have that sense of peace and groundedness to be able to take something forward and hopefully move beyond the blocks that we think we have. Because like the body work, if I keep repeating the same pain narrative and stay stuck there, so you can stay stuck there and not have any direction. The same thing with mindset, like people keep finding the same narrative, but it's just all here. It's like there's no ground to anchor it and bring it down. And I think that's why probably if you asked me a few years ago, I'd be like, oh, body work is everything, because mindset work literally did harm to me, um,
mm.
by the way I used it. I think it really depends on who you are and what your needs are. Like each direction could be an entry point. I think if anything, is one direction didn't work for you,
Yeah.
maybe try the other direction, or maybe try our session that is coming up, that is the integration of both. That was a very smooth transition to
Yeah, I
that
know.
wasn't planned. It just I felt like it was a fit to talk about the project that we've been working on, because we feel like there's a massive need for a place that we get to go to that underworld and understand where we're coming from,
Yeah.
and then
I
have that clarity of mind to be able to live this human life.
mm. It is so crucial. That's what I love in this work together, is like kind of bringing the two worlds into universe. And I think there is something very precious in this test and learn conversation that we just had.
Mm,
When you were doing so much of something and then you discover something else, and there's the needs evolve, the
mm,
needs your body had before your accident and after your accident are very different.
yeah.
And I think also the needs we have when we change lifestyle, when shit happens to us, do change. Like
Hmm.
the you have when you're raising a family are different than when you're trying to build deposit to buy a house, or when you're trying to travel the world for 10 years
Yeah.
or retire at 40. So I think these are things to take in consideration. So when we come together for our women's event, we kind of like have that playground where women can come together and experiment together what works
Hmm.
for them. they can play on their mindset level, they can play on their body, they can play on their like spiritual level as well, because you can tap onto so many different subjects. And yeah, that makes it super exciting. I
And
want
we
to.
really want to speak to women who lived more nuanced, non-linear, unconventional life, right? Like for someone who comes from, I think like one of the things that the typical mindset work didn't work for someone like me, because all the people who I've seen and I learned from, they lived a completely different life. Like they lived in a very different world, and it was like everything was black and white. So you don't think positive, you don't think negative, you only think positive, right? Or like you constantly try to manipulate yourself into being positive, while your lived experience and the truth of your lived experience has been something different. And we can't just say, oh, that didn't exist, that doesn't live in your body. It's like, it's very irresponsible. And I feel like people who lived a more like a non-conventional by Western standard life, it's a completely different ballgame, because for me, every time I do embodiment work, I remember the women that came before me and the shit that they went through. And I also recognize the privilege that I have to transcend that. And we're hoping that we can actually have those amazing women with so much to give to this world, especially this world that is like so like the duality is over the roof right now. Is like being able to, through the understanding of different worlds, being able to cultivate a better future for all of us.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely put the link to the event in the description and the comments as well. I just wanted to close the conversation with one final nugget of wisdom that was meant to say to everyone and to the audience specifically that, you know, nobody has everything figured out. There is a
Mm.
constant playground to and test and learn. But what is one big area of improvement that you're looking forward to experiment with, like for yourself, like your own experience? What is something you want to get better at, or
Mm. Ooh, this is going to be a little bit of a layered answer. And I also, we are at time. So I think one thing that I'm excited about is I have so many different interests that I know, like I understand it through my own lived experience that they're interconnected. But I really haven't seen that many people create that bridge between different concepts and different, like, how I talk about posture and our the psychological layers of things. There are so many other things that I'm passionate about, and I have been dedicating a lot of like deeper time to writing and bringing those layers together and see where that takes me, and just sitting with that through my own body and my lived experience, that how they want to come to life and how they want to hopefully support people. And I think before really going into supporting people is a very selfish act of creative endeavor, to give myself that time to sit and think and feel and bring all the pieces together and study the things that I really enjoy. So it's a mix of studying deeper concepts and then seeing how that actually resonates with the work that I do.
I love that. I love that. It's also, I, I can relate so much on the aspect of, wanting to help others, but actually needing to help ourselves
Yeah.
first. You can't pour out of an empty cup. And
Yeah, and also like letting ourselves to have a creative place that is for you. And I find like, especially like with the distracted world that we live in, I find like if I actually give myself 2 hours to work on a like very deep dive on a concept and creating something, which a lot of the experiences that I run comes from that deep place of just being and feeling and thinking and writing, and using symbols and the ways that life communicates to you in different ways. And I think what you all really need, that finding what is our gift, what is our way of communicating to the world, and cultivating that and watering it and giving enough light and nourishment for it to grow.
Mm, I love it. It's so poetic. And I am super excited to close this episode with a little bit of poetry. Super grateful for everyone who tuned in. I'm super grateful for you, Hedy, to have met you, to be building amazing stuff together. And hopefully, this has just been able to give a little bit of inspiration and insights to people out there who maybe have been too much into their heads, not knowing exactly how to tap into their body, or even some people who have faced also big life events where they lost control of parts of their body or like day-to-day life, and they can see that there could be a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's
Mm.
just about finding their own path. So thank you so much. Thanks everyone.
Thank you,
And
everybody, for joining us. Thank you for having me.